The Human Torch was denied a bank loan. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon. I'm just gonna get voice. Oh yeah, we got smooth jazz, folks. That's when you know it's gonna be a good show. Starting off with 5. Okay. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this very special edition of the Mograph.com podcast here at the Many Hues of Mograph, episode 2. So I am here with some amazing talented artists by popular demand. So I wanted to make sure that everybody who hasn't got a chance to take a look at who these amazing people are on the panel, these amazing women, starting with my left, right, that way. Yeah. Merielen, Burbano. Merielen, welcome to the show.
Hi, Mathias. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much.
I am Merielen Burbano. I am the art director at Fusion TV here in Miami, Florida.
Awesome. And we have Stephanie Hallett as well. You're down in Miami too, right, Steph?
Right next to Merielen. I am a motion designer at the Miami Heat and also a freelance junior art director at Artex Productions.
Awesome. And we have Mariah Burns.
Hi. I'm a designer animator, mariahburns.com, and also the senior art director at The Shop Trailers.
Welcome, welcome. And Kaya Thomas, welcome to the show.
Hey, I'm Kaya Thomas, kayathomas.com. I'm a freelance art director in Los Angeles. Been permalancing at Elastic for the past 2.5 years.
Yeah, welcome, welcome. Thank you all for being here. It's amazing that you actually showed up. I have to say, it's so hard to get you guys on shows. It's really difficult. It's so I know it means a lot to myself as well as our audience. And for me, I've been on a mission to get more and more women into the stage over at Maxon, where I am by day. But it's really challenging, and we want to dive into things not just for women, but also women of color, because there's been so much attention brought to race recently because of tragedies. So our hope here is to bring a little bit more awareness to people who don't understand some of the challenges when it comes to race and ethnicity in the industry and in the world, and how people can be more compassionate and more connected during these really hard times. And as well, we can unify ourselves. And I think we're unified as creatives, but I think we have some work to do, and hopefully we can get a little bit further with that. So wanted to dive right into some of the questions that we have, and just see how everybody's doing with this climate. We're facing so many things. It's not just all the crazy things that we see online through chaos, but also, with the lockdown and everything. So how's everybody doing, first and foremost, with this political and situational format that we're in, staying at home? And
Well, I'll go first. I upped and moved. I was in LA in Santa Monica for the last 11 years.
Wow.
And last month, started planning the move earlier than that, but last month relocated to Santa Fe, New Mexico, just because we needed space and air and to get out of LA and the craziness there. And yeah, so it's been a lot, but settling in now.
It's awesome. Awesome. Yeah, New Mexico is amazing. We used to do a show there, Motion in New Mexico, that was really,
Yeah, I
really
think that's
good
where we
stuff.
met actually for the first
Oh
time.
yeah,
In Upper.
many moons ago.
Yeah.
Several moons ago. Back in the olden days when we could go outside. Oh, it was great days there. So let's dive in then. It seems like everybody's okay. I know we talked behind the scenes, but one of the things that a lot of people wonder, and as well as me, is what are some of the barriers to entry? So everybody kind of goes into this industry from a lot of different places. Some people take a traditional route. Some people find themselves in one industry and then move over. When did you decide that I want to be a motion designer? And Kaya, we'll start with you. I'm just going to dive in. When did you decide, it's a motion designer? I know this is what I want to do.
Well, when I was a teenager, I always loved graphic design, and I didn't know that motion design was even an option. So, so when I got to school, I saw motion design, like concept art in motion, and how you can really expand on graphic design and illustration. All of that can be portrayed with motion graphics, and it kind of was like it was a way for me to use all of the different skills that I picked up and a way to express myself in just one medium. Because like through animation, you could be doing illustration, 3D work, concept art. Like it's pretty endless.
So when did you know, so it was first graphic design. So what was it that you said, now motion? What was that jump for you?
Well, it was when I was in school and I saw like the medium like in play, and saw my professors actually like taking graphic design and making it move. Like it was so fascinating to me. So, I was maybe 18 at the time. And then I just became absolutely obsessed with it, and I knew that's what I wanted to do.
Awesome. And Steph, let's jump over to you over at the Heat. So when did you decide, all right, you know what, I'm going to motion design. That's what I'm doing. That's my thing.
Well, one of the things I was going to mention when you were saying barriers to entry, and that kind of goes along with how my path to Mograph happened, but I never considered motion design. I mean, I never even considered animation, especially because of the, Pixar kind of stereotype. I didn't know it was a possibility. And growing up, I just loved movies. So I did acting for 8 years. And then I realized, oh no, I don't like acting. So then I was like, oh, okay, behind the scenes, I want to make movies. So I went to college for digital filmmaking. And then I took a class in Photoshop. And my teacher was like, I think you should definitely try out motion design. And I ended up graduating with a digital filmmaking degree, but my thesis, which was supposed to be a short film, was a motion reel. But the school was totally okay with it. But yeah, I feel like it's not advertised as much as design or even filmmaking, or if it is advertised, it's advertised as not motion design. It's animation, and I don't know, it just feels different. And I wish I would have known earlier on, because I wouldn't have gone through that process of elimination. But I do think it does need to be more represented or more distinct choice or option. I feel like graphic design and design in general are people consider much more or see that more as a path, but never motion design.
Yeah, and I totally agree. I think that's something that the industry is kind of struggling with, because we have a lot of senior graphic designers that become educators. But if you think about how many people left the industry of motion, design to retire to become teachers, it's we're kind of an emerging field, so we don't have as much history in that and as many people that can lead the next generation. And that's why I think events like this and, everybody showing up, to share with the next generation starts helping people find it, because we didn't have these 10 years ago. There weren't podcasts about this stuff. This is this is fairly new medium. Merielen, what was your
Well, I guess in my case, I started going to school for architecture, and I kind of switched right in the middle because I thought it was kind of boring. I started designing more. My first logo that I designed was for myself, and I kept that logo for a really long time. And then I said, maybe this is what I want to do. Maybe I want to design more. So I started doing more graphic design, and then I got an internship at Cartoon Network Latin America, and I just kept going from there.
Awesome. Mariah, that leaves you.
Yeah. So I started in high school in yearbook doing layouts for all the programs for the musicals and stuff like that. And then inched my way through community colleges because I didn't have the means to go to school and worked full time. So I took my time, and I finally, I think I was 27, I started at SCAD, and my focus was graphic design then. And my sister, I have an older sister who's also a motion graphics artist. She moved out to LA and was like, "You're doing graphic design, that's awesome, but look at motion graphics." So then I got my minor in motion graphics, and yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. So let's dive into the juicy stuff. The really challenging stuff when it comes to the many hues here is, was there a barrier to entry that you saw moving into motion, either color or gender? Was there anything that you ran up against that stood out in your head of like, you know what, that was racist, or that was completely sexist? Was there something that was just like, this is just, that's exactly what this is? Is there anything that really sticks out as you started your career?
For me, definitely, because as early as school, I remember I was the only woman of color in all of my classes. There wasn't a person of color that was my teacher, I think, at any point in my education.
Wow. Where was that? Where was that at?
I'm sorry, I didn't even mention. I went to Art Center in Pasadena.
Okay.
So
only woman of color.
Only woman of color. Any of my classes, no professors of color. It was outrageous. And then when I actually got into the industry, it felt like this was going to be a reoccurring trend. When I went to my first studio, and yet again, I was the only woman of color. No directors of color. We were a dime a dozen, pretty much. Like I get so excited when I see a person of color come to work, because I thought, I'm not alone in this. But from the very beginning, I felt like it's a rare thing to actually see people like me in the field.
Did you experience like different type of treatment? Was it like, okay, we're gonna wait till she leaves, or everybody starts talking as soon as she leaves the room, or you could tell like, oh, I'm not getting any feedback, and then you get feedback the next day via email or something? They're avoiding conversation, or anything weird like that?
Not so much as I felt more like tokenism, if you know what I mean.
Oh, okay.
I felt
explain that to our audience, though. I know what you mean as a person of color, but for those of us who don't know.
A lot of tokenism. I felt like sometimes when I tell, because I'm half Black, and it kind of felt like when the team finds out there's a Black team member, they get a little bit excited. They feel like, I'm not, this isn't a racist environment because we've got Kaya over here, So it wasn't like I never felt like people were putting me down so much as it was definitely, I felt a lot of tokenism, like, we do have people of color in our office because, we've got, this young woman over here. So it was more stuff like that.
Yeah, so you were the flag. You'd wave that. No, we're not racist. Here, take a look. Kaya, please present for them to let them know how we accept everybody here, because you speak for everyone of color.
Yeah.
Anyone else experience anything like that? And this is really great too, because it's great seeing that we have both, the Latin American experience as well as Black. It's so different, and there's so many different cultural things that are unique. So, Mariah, were you going to say something?
Yeah, same as Kaya. I'm half Black as well, tokenism. That's the thing, is like, you don't realize it wasn't like overt racism or anything, but definitely there were certain shoots that, we were invited to just because we were, people of color. And I wasn't the only one. Different than her experience, I went to SCAD in Atlanta, so I was around a lot of people of color. And then my first job in motion graphics was with Winbush, who was on the first episode. So, and my sister as well. So not as non-diverse, but definitely the token, for sure.
Stephanie, have you ran into anything like that, Stephanie or Merielen? Has there been anything where you actually felt, because of your race or gender getting into this industry, that you had some very unique experiences?
Well, we're pretty fortunate that Miami is very Latin. So if anything, I mean, it's difficult to say anything with my background because everyone here, half the people, their first language is Spanish. So, Miami's like its own little world in the middle of Florida, because everywhere around it's not the same at all. But working where I've worked, and I've been lucky enough that I didn't experience anything really like that.
Yeah, I think it's been the same for me. Being around people from all over Latin America, it's kind of like you get to interact and learn from other cultures as opposed to being, isolated. So it's a great opportunity. And ever since I moved here from Atlanta, I think I've experienced that it's very like the culture-rich environment.
Yeah, I love Miami. Been down there several times, and that is one thing. It is very multicultural, especially throughout all of Latin America. And has there anything been? Did you feel as a woman that it was discriminatory, or you were being talked down to in the industry, or did you feel that the pipeline from education to getting a job, it seemed fair throughout the process? And I'm asking in a way for like feedback too, because I talk with a lot of companies and a lot of studios. So if there's any interactions that feel more inclusive, that's some of the stuff that I'm looking to make sure is being done.
I feel like right now we're in the right path to inform people, inform younger audiences of what it is that we do. Motion graphics is such a broad field that a lot of people don't really know exactly what it is or what it entails. So having groups like Pan Animation or Ladies in Mograph, it allows people to understand that yes, as women, we can do all of these things too.
Is there anything that you think would be more inclusive in getting more women to the forefront? And I'm asking that because over my 10 years, I think I might have had maybe one woman. I don't think so. Actually, I don't think I had one woman actually ask me to be on the main stage presenting at any one of my shows, but I've had countless men asking for that. And I do believe that is something when it comes to just leaders and icons, because I think I ran into some of you at shows, but I've seen your work for years and loved it. But it wasn't, there's other people who are really out there. Is there anything that you think can be done to help more women come to the forefront to kind of volunteer or actually approach more stages in the industry?
Well, I think what we're doing now definitely helps.
I agree.
All female panel. Like I was even telling everyone now when we saw like all the side by sides, I was like, how exciting. You just see like 4 women next to each other. I think this is a step in the right direction. Ladies in Mograph as well, and Panimation. But yeah, just encouraging and inspiring and trailblazing. And yeah, I guess we are a little bit, women, the fact that no one's reached out to you is crazy to me. But yeah, I guess we just need that push, that encouragement.
It is bizarre because I work with so many women motion graphic artists, like so many in my network that I collaborate with and have worked at different networks and stuff. And so the fact that this is the first time this is happening is bizarre.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it is routine, right? So people are working with who they really know. And then when it comes to just marketing yourselves too, I know like I was terrible at social media until just recently. And then I was like, all right, fine, I'll post when I'm doing events. So, and I did a lot of events. So I started posting. But I know like some of you, it's like you have amazing work, but you're always working, not necessarily promoting yourself, which is also very different. And then we have, you know, in my experience, I've had men who are less talented or seasoned, let's say seasoned in their craft, but are very aggressive in reaching out, trying to, you know, get to the talk, be on stage, do that. And then I've approached actually very talented women that are amazing, top notch, like some of the very best, most inspiring things, and that are very intimidated to be able to get on stage. And that's something that I'm trying to definitely change, as far as that value of the voice of women in this industry is definitely extremely powerful and inspirational. So thank you once again for just being here. I think this is going to be something that we can use to promote to the next generation, where they can say, okay, who are these women? What are the work that they do? And after they see it, they'll be like, okay, I definitely want to do that, because the work that you guys do are so inspiring. We have some questions coming in. I think we can actually dive right into those. Blake, Balake Catherine, if you guys don't know, she was just on the show yesterday. She wanted to know from each panel member found key inspiration or mentor that encouraged them. So do either of you, or any of you, if you guys can talk about a key mentor or inspiration in your career. And Kaya, I'll start with you, and then we can.
Me.
Yeah.
Well, I would say there was a man that I worked with for 4 years named Steve Viola. He's currently I think the head of design at Effects, and we worked very closely together for several years. And he had a fantastic balance between having a design oriented mind and a business oriented mind. So he was fantastic to work under and learn from. And yeah, I definitely attribute, you know, working with him to the drive and the work ethic that I have today.
Excellent. Well, thank you for that. Mariah, let's work our way across the screen. Mariah,
Sure.
What about you?
I had a teacher in high school, my journalism teacher, yearbook teacher. She was one that was like unique. She didn't even know what graphic design was. She was a journalist, and so she at that point was calling it desktop publishing, and we were using PageMaker back then. So she,
good old days.
Yeah, she really encouraged me to on this path. And then career-wise, like my first team that I worked with at Framework, all of them, like Winbush, my sister Viva, Dan Pierce, and
You worked with Dan Pierce?
Yeah, Jesse Hallis.
Okay.
Jesse Hallett and Christian Brown. There was just like this camaraderie, and like your first job, like I don't know, I just learned so much from them. And
that's a good team. I mean, we've had several of them on the stage, so that's a good place to start off. So, Stephanie, what about you?
When I graduated college, a director for a music video that I had gone onto a set because it was being filmed at my friend's house, and it was while I was in film school. I met him, Tonda Ross, super talented. He's a director, animator, designer. And I had told him like, oh, I'm a film student and blah, blah, blah. And then I added him on Facebook. And when I graduated and I had my motion reel, I put it on my Facebook, and he reached out to me and he's like, whoa, you're doing animation now? I was like, oh yeah, I guess I switched. And completely unselfishly, like decided to find me freelance work, and any questions I had, like, of course, you never know pricing. Pricing's the scariest thing when you first start freelancing, and you have nothing to go off of, like no gauge or it was really scary. And he always gave me advice. And I remember I even asked him one time, I was like, you've been so nice to me. And I'm so appreciative. And he told me that the reason he kind of really went out of his way to help me and kind of give me training wheels was because he had an apprenticeship when he first started, and he like always talks about how much of an impact and And also, I feel like that's kind of a trend. Like everybody here, or most motion designers, kind of have that one person that really helped them into the industry. But yeah, and I also wanted to mention that when I started listening to podcasts, B. Grandinetti was a huge inspiration for me. One of my favorite designers, and I don't know, I love the way she speaks, and she's goals.
Very cool. Merielen, what about for you?
For me, I was a professor in school. He was the art director for CNN for many years, and he was an excellent person, and he kind of guided a lot of people towards that path. And it was him that said, maybe you should do animation, and it was, very encouraging to hear from him, someone that has so much experience, and it was him.
That's amazing. So we have some professors in the house. So thank you, all the teachers, and a big shout out to all the teachers who are watching this. It's amazing what you can do, and you have award-winning. Now, if you take a look, award-winning artists that are inspired all the way from journalism. It's like it doesn't matter where it's coming from, but you're inspiring and changing. So thank you. I just definitely want to say thank you to all the teachers out there, and then everybody else who in the industry is stepping up and helping the newcomers. It's very different in the world of sports where I came in, where you're a rookie and everybody gives you a hard time. So whenever you get a good team that uplifts you, that's something that I really love about this community, and I really try and encourage, is that keeping that mentality, because not every other place does that. It's like very competitive and a lot of cutthroat, in the world of business and finance and all that other stuff. Everybody's trying to get on top of each other as far as like climbing over each other instead of actually lifting each other up. And I feel that that's something that's unique about it. So it's great to hear that was the environment that was cultivated for each of you. Somebody asked, what was one of the most difficult aspects of Mograph to grasp? Was there anything when you were jumping into the industry that was just like, okay, how do I wrap my head around this?
Yeah, so for me, I was in school for graphic design, and then, jumped to motion graphics. And in graphic design, you have one final piece, one thing that you can hold, and it's tactile, and it's like finished, and you're done. And then motion graphics, like time-based, like just figuring out how to get from A to B, that took me a while to really grasp. It was like, it's not just one picture, it's a million pictures.
Yeah. That's the hard one, going from timeline, especially because you can't cheat the same ways that you can in graphic design. It's like, I can cheat a little, but not the same. It's very, very different. Anyone else that was like, okay, what was something that was really hard?
I would say that understanding, I agree with Mariah, like when you're coming from a graphic design background, you only have to work on this one image, and you just, at the end, you just finish that and you're done. But thinking about how things move and how everything translates into one thing and becomes one entire animation, that I think that was one of the hardest things for me, to understand how things move and interact with each other. That was one of the hardest
so
parts.
All the components, how it all came together, like the camera, the cuts, everything to tell the story, instead of the image and composition and color. It was like, no, you have that in every frame. It's like,
For me, it was actually the opposite, because I didn't study graphic design. So I was like into motion design, and I always felt like, man, I wish I had those fundamentals, But luckily, there's a bunch of places you can find all these, like School of Motion and everything. But I did always feel like I was missing that core component of having that very design-heavy knowledge.
So did you already come in feeling like you knew more of story because of your acting background, that is like, oh, I know story, but now I have to translate that? Okay.
Yeah, and also just like I just went all into like animation and I skipped, color and composition. I mean, well, I actually had composition from filmmaking, but color was one thing I always struggled with. But I feel like I feel like a lot of people have similar experiences now when they go into motion design too. especially because a lot of people are taught online now.
Right.
Now with all the opportunities and stuff, I feel it's not as like that formal education, but yeah.
Yeah. If you want to talk color, talk to Blake Catherine. She is so good with it. Let's see here. Somebody was asking. Oh, someone, Steph, wanted to know the podcast that you mentioned.
Well, the first one I ever started listening to that I was like amazed there was even a motion design podcast. I was like, this exists. It's just motion designers. Was actually Animators.
Okay, and what was the other one?
Which other one?
Was it just that one? Because I thought you mentioned one. There was a woman's voice that you really liked on it.
On Animators, they had interviewed B. Grandinetti, and that's when
right.
I first.
Okay,
started.
Animators, B. Grandinetti. Okay, so hopefully that takes care of you, Dave Ramirez. Let me see. Another question was hiring practices. Now, do you think there's anything that can be done to make hiring more inclusive? Like mentioning Mariah and Kaya, that you're the only woman on the team, being Token, the classic Token. Is there anything that you think could be done that would make hiring practices more inclusive?
I think it's honestly something that starts way before even hiring practices, because I feel like, it goes back to when I was in school, there were no people of color. And if there are no people of color in the schools, who are these companies going to hire? So it's like going all the way back and down to, the high school level, and showing kids that this is a viable option. When I went to school, it was crazy expensive. There's no way I would have been able to afford it without scholarship. So I got crazy lucky. So it's all about telling kids, you have these options. And if you don't want to go to school, these days it's possible. You can be self-taught these days. This is a fantastic field to get into. So I think just, showing people who want to get into this industry, that we're accepting it's an awesome place to be. And then a lot of these companies will have more people of color to actually hire, because I think a lot of kids get scared off by like the crazy costs of art school these days.
Oh yeah, it's terrifying.
It's crazy.
It's terrifying. So I think that kind of goes to a question that Jeremiah was asking, is what steps do you think or wish were being taken to get more leads? So as far as Black women lead, in the industry, but I guess if we don't even have enough, we have one per graduating class, then it's going to be you and you. Good. We have the two from Southern California that made it here. That's great. Anything with hiring practices now in Miami? So Merielen and Stephanie, did you see that there was anything different between men and women getting into the industry on that, or was it just equal in your classroom? Was there just a same amount of men as women? Or, well, I guess Steph, you came from acting, so that's completely different.
Well, filmmaking too, which was all guys.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. So anything do you think could, at that level, at that early stage, be more inviting for women to get into that industry?
I feel like it kind of starts also with having examples, now there's more women directors and who are being nominated and stuff like that in terms of like film, but also motion design too. One thing I was thinking too earlier when we were talking about it, well, everyone I feel like started with Andrew Kramer and tutorials, and now that I like go back and I think about all the tutorials I saw at first, at the time there wasn't like a prominent female tutorial person that I couldn't even think of off the top of my head. Now there's a couple more, but even then it's still more male. So I think maybe, starting
so you're volunteering. There. Awesome. Perfect.
Maybe.
We will help you create that pathway. So we'll have. Well, we talked about having you on the main stage anyway. So over at Max on at the 3D Motion Show. So definitely, you're saying it right. Andrew Kramer, as much as I love him, good friend, it's just, he's not, you look at him, he's like, okay, the picture perfect, blonde hair, blue eyed, all American, successful guy. And it's like great and funny and all that. So shout out to you, Andrew. shout out. But at the same time, we're not getting that diverse, we're not getting that diverse image that lets anybody feel connected. I think everybody felt connected because he created a workflow that people could say, I could do this. Not necessarily that the industry's welcoming to me, but these techniques as an artist I can apply, which I think was kind of it had one aspect that I think was really good because it was inclusive to everybody. It really didn't matter what color you were when you actually opened up After Effects. You could take the same steps and get to where he got, and that was empowering, But then when you start going into the careers, just because you've taken those steps doesn't mean, the businesses look at you as just the same amount of talent and you don't have other obstacles. So definitely more women, please. If you guys are listening to this, send me names, send me or jump on the show or talk to me, because I definitely love seeing the next generation empowered, and so we can get more of that creative image for you guys out there. Somebody was wondering, how do you create alternative pathways so that there's more access to education to these careers?
Yeah, I think that's what Kaya was saying, is pathways need to start earlier, before college, for kids in elementary and high school to go more of a alternative path, because college, a 4-year college and a 4-year art school, I mean, I barely made it happen and I'm in debt, and so it's just it's not reasonable. And so I think finding ways for companies to support high schools like Maxon to start some type of vocational program for a high school where they can access the software that they want to need to access, and, computers and everything, I think it has to start that early to change the demographics.
Right. I think I agree with Mariah. I think education is one of the most fundamental, most important steps. I say this because I have a niece and she's 9 years old. And she is a genius. She's an animation genius. I don't know, I cannot say this about anyone else, but she's so little and she already understands how everything moves, how compositions develop. And I think it's just been exposed to all of this through tutorials and seeing other people posting stuff online. So kids have an advantage now. And I think it's very important for them to take, to get exposed to all of this early on. So
definitely, that's awesome. Well, that's something that I am working on behind the scenes. Definitely talk about it as soon as I can, as far as working. I mean, I've worked for years and I've gone to high schools and down in Miami too, Miami-Dade College, and we bring in high school classes. So I'd love to actually teach the classes and show, people who've never done anything within an hour, how they could do, even just a logo animation of their name, and how people were lighting up from that. So I know that that's a really important thing. So would all of you be interested in participating in some way if those programs were established and existed?
Oh, yeah. Sure.
Okay.
For sure.
That's awesome, because that's one thing is to create it. The other thing is to have people ready to go to say, all right, I'm going to inspire. And you guys can just show your work and they would all be like, okay, I want to do that. You would be changing lives. So that's really big. Question coming in was, where do you think the industry is headed? Growth industry, new skills to have, what's next? So it's kind of like a little future forecasting. What do you guys think? Where's the industry going, and what skills should people be prepping?
I feel go ahead. I was gonna say it's VR. I think the future is probably VR, and even how you can model or how you can bring something to life by wearing a headset is, to me, that's where the future is.
I was going to almost say the opposite.
Really?
I was going to say analog, just doing things a little more tactile and I don't know. I was going to say the opposite.
Analog, Mariah. Okay.
I was going to say just the rendering I've been seeing with Unreal Engine has been absolutely mind-blowing. So right. I think, with the increase of render speeds and how quickly we're going to be able to create visual effects, it's something to look forward to.
Definitely. Yeah, I've been working with them. And Winbush, he presented on that, and Maxon has been working. There's beautiful integration in that. So I think that's something that
crazy.
is part of the pipeline now. Is that something that you just have to know? And it's funny because I was actually in Miami the first time I actually talked about this. I think it was 2015. And the local television show station interviewed me and said, "Okay, what's the future of all this?" I was like, "The future is real time, and Redshift is working, on real time and everything. It's like it's real time. What you see is what you get right now, and you don't have to, wait for it. You're just creating immediately, which means
which is amazing. Yeah, our imaginations will be limitless now. Like we can't, hide behind, waiting for a render farm so much longer anymore.
I know. What does that do? What does that do to our deadlines? It's like, it's real time, so you'll get that done today, right? Perfect. It's perfect. No question. Everything's a day now because real time. Awesome. Let's see here. So skills to have. So Unreal is one of them. Are there? Now, Mariah, what do you see with tactile? Because I think there's something that's interesting about that in the world of analog, because I think that actually goes with VR, because VR does kind of lend itself to doing things somewhat more tactile instead of just a mouse.
I think I'm speaking more in the COVID sense, and that people are home and being able to, I don't know, if you watch the Saturday Night Live, when they were doing the home stuff, how they were doing the opening titles and stuff just was like very analog, and it was really cool to see people just at home and working with what they had. And we're catching up to speed with networks and everything as far as the workflow of working remotely, but there's still something, I don't know, cool about seeing the at-home stuff that people are doing.
So do you think you will see like some AR? I think AR we're going to see more of before VR overall. I think we're not going to get completely into our Matrix capsules quite yet, but soon. And I think like AR and Don Allen, he was showing some stuff on our last, it was the SIGGRAPH show. And he was showing some of that workflow. And I think that's something that a lot of people are with, like creating filters. So it's kind of that mixed reality before then. And that's something Paul at Maxon, he's talked a lot about. He's like, I think it's going to be here first. And I kind of agree, because I feel that that's where people are right now. It's like we're more likely to put on a Snapchat filter or a filter of some type before we are going to just toss on a headset. I think and it's a little bit more accessible at this point. So I think there's definitely going to be a combination, but I do feel, Merielen, that's where we're going to eventually go. It's like, all right, we're not going to the movies anymore, but what we're going to do is we're all going to put on our headsets and we're going to be with our friends and we're going to be global. And now we go on, we go to the drive-in this way. Like this
Absolutely.
is how we sit. This is how we sit in the theater together. It's like, okay, yeah, and we can mute people.
In a way, we're kind of already doing that, like working from home. I never imagined like just doing everything from here and having meetings online and creating a show from scratch that is going to air in an hour from home. So it's changed a lot of the way that you work and workflows in general.
Definitely. Back to the ethnic questions and things like that. Has anyone experienced passing? And for those on the audience who don't know what passing is when you pass for another culture, where someone mistakes you for another culture, so they might let something slip. They might act like, they might have said something that they would not have said if they would have known someone of that culture is present. Have any of you had that experience where you're like, oh, by the way, I'm Black, or by the way, I'm Latin, by the way, I'm Spanish? Like, have you had that experience?
Oh, for sure. I mean, it's kind of like it happens on like an hourly basis, pretty much. So
hourly?
Yeah.
Sorry,
well, when I used to go outside,
in the outside time.
in outside time. Yes, it happens all the time where people will they'll make a off-cuff joke or something, and then I'll have to chime in and be like, hey, I'm half Black, and it shouldn't really matter. I shouldn't have to say it. You shouldn't be saying jokes like this in the first place. But yes, I'm half Black.
And do you see that change, Mariah? The same thing?
All the time. And then people say, oh, well, you don't you're not really black, or you don't seem black, or
or you
that's
don't sound
like,
black.
oh,
You don't
come
sound
on.
black, right? Yeah.
Not one of those black, the other shade of black. You know what I'm talking about. You know, the justification of you're not, but you're not really in the group that I'm talking about, so you're fine.
Yeah.
That's fun.
That's ridiculous. Steph or Merielen?
Well, it's happened to me that people will speak Spanish around me, and then I'll turn around and speak Spanish, and they're like, "Oh, you speak Spanish? You're Hispanic?" I'm like, "Yes." So it's like the flip.
The other way around. Like, oh, she's not one of us. We could talk.
Yeah.
And did you find conversations, were they having in reference to you, or no? It was just general conversation.
Not like, I mean,
wasn't
just
rude.
saying, yeah, it wasn't rude. It was just like, oh yeah, like she's in front of us in the line, but you know, she's not going next or something like that in Spanish. And then I was like, oh no, sí voy. Stuff like that. That happens often.
Yeah, I think me and Stephanie, we used to joke around when we used to work together. Just, I love hearing her Spanish. It's so cute.
It's cute Spanish.
Yeah, it is. And she always would correct me if I say something in my Colombian accent. She'll be like, no, that's not how you say that. So, or just say everything in Spanglish. You're switching, languages back and forth as you're explaining, like, oh, this is what I'm going to do here in this composition. But if you go here and they started talking Spanish.
So. I love it. So what do you, Blake had another question for VR focus. She was curious if any opinion with Oculus becoming exclusive to Facebook, with enforcing it feels exclusionary as an outsider. So are you guys working? Are you guys working with Oculus much? Are you working with that medium, or are you in the world of VR? A lot of what you're doing, or
VR terrifies me, to be honest.
Yeah. Why?
Terrifies me. Well, just the first. I've been on one VR job, and it was so foreign to me. Like I don't know. It scares me because I know I'm gonna if it becomes very popular, it's gonna be a whole new world, a whole new way of learning, and just with the rate of different software coming out, it's like every year I have to learn something different anyway. But with VR, it's like relearning things from the ground up. It seems like.
But it'll be real time. It's fine. It's all
right. Plug-in. You got a plug-in for that, right?
Yeah, give me the plug-in.
Yeah. Very cool. Let's see. Somebody was wondering, do you think with remote work, it's helping to democratize the industry compared to the pressure of moving to places like New York, LA, Seattle, kind of the creative hubs? What are you guys seeing with this?
Well,
yeah,
I left. So.
I love working remotely, but the great thing about working remote is you can work at any studio in the country. But the downfall of working remotely is, producers know you're at home, so you'll be getting the call at 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning,
So okay, that's a good point.
Finding that balance. Yeah.
No, I know. I feel you.
I think depending on where you are in your career, I think for somebody starting their career, this would be a terrible thing. You need to be with a team and learning from them and collaborating, and but where I am in my career, it's I was already working remotely anyway, so it didn't change much for me.
Wow. Yeah, I think that's a really interesting thing because, several of you mentioned that a lot of things that helped you in your career were the teams that you worked on initially. So you got on a good team and that really brought you to that next level. So now it's just like, well, I Zoom with them at work and then I try and Zoom with them afterwards to build a relationship. So that's, I'm sure that's going to be a really different dynamic, is building those, personal connections of rubbing shoulders, like, oh, you know what, that person just has good energy and I'm going to spend, have lunch with them and kind of pick their brain about the industry a little bit more.
Yeah, there's one thing I really missed about working on site, because I'll be working on a project and have a technical question and no one to really turn to. So I'll have to, quickly text my friends and hope that, they'll know and get a response. But, it's definitely something I miss about working on site, is just being able to feed off the energy of the people around me, and we, throw ideas around. So
yeah, the information vampire. That's
Yeah,
that's how it works.
Just hovering over people's shoulders.
Yeah, and I miss that myself because at Maxon by day I have such I have a plethora of nerds around me that are just amazingly talented and product managers and stuff. And I know they're online and I can chat them, but they also can just not respond for a significant amount of time.
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh, I'm right here. Yeah, you can't ignore me when I'm right here. My question's going to get answered. Sage tuned in and was wondering some of the favorite things you worked on, and I'm going to add to that and why. So do you have a favorite project? Merielen, let's start on your side and work our way over to you.
2 years ago, we had a show called Sex Right Now. It was very controversial, but I really enjoy working on that show, making the brand and just developing all the assets for it. It was a show that me and Stephanie worked together actually at, and it was very fun. We had to make all kinds of props, buy all kinds of props, so it was very interesting. Sometimes we would have visitors in the building and we would have to hide everything,
inappropriate props.
Exactly.
Oh yeah.
So what was it airing on? What station if people wanted to go check it out?
Fusion.
Okay.
Fusion.
Sex Right Now.
Sex Right Now.
Okay.
Yeah, there were other projects. Lately, I've been doing a lot of character design, and I really enjoy doing that. Yeah, character design.
So that's your new passion right now. So Sex Right Now is your favorite past project, but what you like working on right now is character stuff.
Yes.
Is it more realistic or is it more cartoony and
cartoony illustrated? Yeah.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
All right, need to check that out. Are you posting? Should we check your Instagram and all that, or where are you posting?
Yeah. Instagram, my website. For a while, actually, I was designing jewelry, and
nice.
Yeah, I would do like 3D printed stuff, and I had like a little store for like 2 years, and then I was like, okay, this is a lot for me with job and with everything else. So I kind of like stopped that for a while, and now I'm just like doing character design.
Very cool. Stephanie, what about you? You have a favorite project?
Well, actually, this past year when we were making the main campaign for Miami Heat, we decided to go analog.
Oh, really?
And yeah, well, not go analog, but we wanted to add those analog elements to the open and the headshots and all that stuff. So we did a lot of things by hand, like textures, scans, or like when like a player would be on screen, and then we wanted like a glitch transition. We like bought a scanner and we printed out that frame of the headshot, glitched it on the scanner, and then put it into the animation, which was really cool. It was cool to mix the two and kind of come up with this hybrid and still be hands-on but digital, and it was really fun.
So would you just scan it and then move it as it was scanning, or?
Yeah. It was literally put the frame that we have of the animation right where we want it, put it on the scanner, and as the light was going down, just to like start moving it around. But we also like did stop motion.
That's desktop publishing stuff right there.
Yeah, and we also did like spray paint that they filmed, and we would use those for like the reveals and stuff. So it was really fun. I hadn't done that so far, to be able to mix the two, because I did like and it was just really cool to kind of go back to your roots of like drawing, but also blend it with what you're working on now and the programs that we use.
Very cool. Very cool. Mariah, what about you?
So early on, my first job at Framework, we worked on America's Best Dance Crew, and I got in, I think it was season 3 when I started there, and I loved that show. So much work. We had to design every logo for every dance crew and their banners, and then graphics wise, the amount of deliverables, because we were delivering to a truck, and so you have to do everything in 2 versions, and I just loved it so much because I got to learn so much. I got to design a ton, and then I got to animate a ton and just learn so much, and also work through best practices for production. So I really loved that. And these days I just love digging into keyframes and finessing and, just, animating
curve.
on. I love to just dig in and spend time just really finessing a keyframe.
Keyframe finesse. You should just do an entire series on that. Just silently, just recording, just you moving handles on keyframes.
I have recorded just my hand on the wacom. Just like just my hand on that all day.
That's fun. So when you're talking about production to a truck, can you talk a little bit more about that for our audience?
Oh, for just delivering things, because back then we had to deliver certain things with an alpha mat and then certain things with a luma mat, because the truck needed a separate luma mat to use lower thirds, things like that. So it was more, and then the things that they were doing post-production needed alpha. So every single lower third needed at least 3 deliverables,
Oh, wow.
So,
there you go, folks. So if you got a job with a truck, get ready for lots of renders. Use takes. Kaya, what do you got? What about your favorite?
Oh, my favorite is it was the last project that I got to work on for real in a studio. It was, we worked on the Milan main-on-end sequence.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and literally, we had maybe, 4 weeks to do the whole thing, and pretty much like the day after we delivered it, the entire city got shut down. So prior to that, it was just crazy turnaround time, but the process of the sequence itself was so much fun, because we were hand painting things, we were doing a little bit of character design. It was just so much mixed media, and a lot of late nights with the crew involved. We all got along so well. So it's a great memory, of the last project I worked on site with my team before 2020 went to shit.
back in the good old days, in the outside
Yeah,
times.
back in the good old days, back in January.
Back in the outside days.
Yeah.
So, let's see. Somebody was wondering passive income ideas for illustration. Are you guys doing anything else? I know, Merielen, you mentioned you were doing jewelry for a little bit, but are you doing anything besides just studio work with your art and using your talents for other things when it comes to professional work?
Yeah, I take a lot of freelance, which can be good and bad. But in sense of illustrations, I've been playing a lot around with Procreate. Really like how you can just do it in your iPad and take it anywhere. But I had other ideas of selling characters online, rake characters in general. So that's maybe in the future.
Anyone else working on anything, or you just too swamped with studio work to do any side?
I feel like I have a new hobby every week.
What's this week's hobby?
This week is I've become a plant expert. This week I've bought 50 new plants.
Oh, we need to talk. I need some help. Definitely. I've wanted to be a plant expert for a while now.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure next week they'll all be dead and I'll be baking or something. So,
Like it. Mariah, Steph, anything else you guys are doing for, creative passive income?
A lot of side gigs. I just, keep
the pipeline
busy.
Full.
Yeah, and the little ones and things that I have a team of other freelancers that we kind of pass things around between. If one of us is too busy, then I can pass it to somebody else. And yeah, I have a nice little crew of people that
take on little side gigs here and there.
Yeah, and then I extend myself with school stuff for kids. I have kids, so
yeah.
I do drone shoots for their
just up the production quality of elementary a little bit.
Yeah,
just do this little intro title for you.
Oh my God, I go overboard. I go overboard.
Thanks, Mom. Steph, what about you? Do you have anything that you're working on when you're not with the heat?
Well, I do freelance on the side a lot. I've always moonlighted. I mean, now that I don't have kids or like responsibilities like that, I kind of just stay up day heat and then night moonlighting. But I am always trying to think like what are some possibilities for passive income that I could, do something once and then have it online, kind of make something on the side.
We'll all talk after the show, come up with our great idea. All right, so somebody was wondering, besides podcast, what do you think of, besides podcast, anything, other mediums for discussing motion graphics, gender equality issues? So what media besides podcast is doing a good job discussing motion graphics, gender, and equality issues? I mean, podcast, I'm just going to chime in on that one because I think podcast, that's kind of a big way everybody's getting it, or videocast like we're doing now. But back in the day, I would say, back in the outside days is what I call them. But when we had conventions, that was a really good way. And we would do panels. I know we had Women in Mograph. That was a panel that we did to be able to bring up these different things. And it was bringing it up to the industry. So when you're online here, that's talking to people who are specifically tuning in and might find it and it might live on. But when you have an industry panel at an industry event, and it kind of puts the whole industry like, oh, there's a panel at NAB, there's a panel at SIGGRAPH that's, really focused on those issues. So if we can get to the outside days back, then I would say more industry events instead of just, someone's podcast, but the industry itself, I think is a good one. Somebody was wondering, any project horror stories or moments where you had to overcome a challenging obstacle? Sorry to have to think about that. It's like, I know you put it away and lock it, throw away the key.
Oh my God. I mean, there's been a lot.
It's been a lot.
There's been a lot.
Just let that fester. We'll go on to the next one,
God.
so you don't have to sit back. I don't want to see the tears rolling. Like, no, PTSD, like flashbacks. We'll avoid that. But if something does come up, we'll get back to that. Somebody was wondering your thoughts on joining a professional support group for Mograph support and networking. Pedro, answer is yes. Do it. If you're not part of it, do it. that's a big one. Are you part of? Any of you ladies part of any groups? Are you active?
Sorry. Well, I was actually going to say that, from the friends that I have in California, they're always talking back in the day of, back in the outside days of all like these like, oh, Mograph happy hours or just like Mograph meetups and stuff like that. There's not one in Miami. Unless it's like in our little circle of friends. Well, there was a couple, but they're like every 6 months. And recently after quarantine, I found Full Harbor. I don't know if you guys have heard of it, but it's an online community for motion designers where it's literally just everyone talking about projects they're working on, and then like monthly challenges. Like there was a social media challenge that like try to get yourself to post something every day. I think it's like 300 people now, and the way he kind of has the culture, it's very like, you, even for somebody who's shy like me, it gets you to talk in the group and connect with other people, and it's been pretty cool. I mean, I love it because in Miami we don't have that cool network. If anything, most animators here are like broadcast people rather than So
what's it called? Harbor?
Full Harbor.
Full Harbor. Definitely have to take a look at that. Any other groups? Yeah, there was a lot in LA, and I'd come to Miami and we would do one. We'd make something happen. When I was in the outside days, everywhere I went, it was like, okay, let's make something happen so we can hang out with our nerd family. I miss my nerd family. Miss you guys all. I miss all of you. Miss my nerd family. Big hugs to everyone. Somebody was wondering, or any other groups that you know of? Panimation. I think Merielen, you mentioned that, right?
Yes. I think Ladies in Mographs. It's now called Limbs. I found a group in Brazil. It's called Garotas do Motion. And I thought it was very interesting that all these women are like posting their work, and it's like amazing. It's amazing work coming from South America. So it's called Garotas do Motion.
Very cool. Another question here from Elizabeth. Have you ever had an experience where you've been sponsored or mentored in a way that was pivotal to getting you into the industry and keeping you there? So have you worked ever specifically in a sponsorship and mentorship? Somebody saying, all right, I got you until you get to where you want to go? Or was it all more passive as far as like, okay, I'm just connecting and we're just sharing info?
Would have been nice.
Yeah.
Wait, yes? Wait, which one?
It would have been nice. It would have been really nice.
Oh, it would have been, okay. It would have been nice to have that mentor or sponsor.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Let's see, more questions, industry questions. So I'll ask one. If there was a project that you guys would want to work on, so we've talked about some horror stories and things like that, but is there a type of project that you're just waiting for that you're like, ooh, I can't wait to get PGA golf. That's what I want to do. I want to do a golf spot. I don't know. I want to do razors. I want to do, whatever it is. Is there something that you would love to work on?
Well, Kaya's work is amazing. I would love to do some of the stuff.
Do something with that.
I don't know, just a project where you can work on it for a long time. I do a lot of trailer work these days, and not a lot of projects where you get to spend a long time kind of developing and designing and researching, and I would love to just a project like that where you're in it for a while and
so you can refine it and really just bring out the absolute best instead of like, it's done, it needs to be done, let's get something to the client. Is that a unanimous yes to that project? Yes, let's all agree to work on that project.
No, I mean, yeah, for sure having a comfortable timeline, but I definitely at one point want to do movie, either opening or ending credits, even though I feel like some of my favorite ones recently have been the ending credits, like the Spider-Man one that Handel worked on, and Birds of Prey, the ending credit, which were like a little bit more illustrative, artistic look.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Penelope Niederlander worked on that one, and then I think James Ramirez also worked on the Spider-Man stuff, so that was really good.
Oh, both Spider-Man.
Yeah.
The Homecoming and then Into the Universe.
Oh, okay. Oh yeah, both of those. Yeah, at Perception did those. Yeah, those were really fun. I actually have a frame in the office. Oh, in the olden days, have stuff in an office that I would go to and see all the amazing things. Anybody else? Any other projects? So, Kaya, what about you? You've worked on some, really, across the board stuff and a lot of, feature stuff. Is there anything that you're like, oh, one day there's still something you're reaching for?
I really love title sequences. Those have like my entire career, that was like the goal. So I feel like the past few years I've been really able to work on them more, and I love them. So now my goal is like, man, I really want to work on a Jurassic Park title sequence, or I want to work on like Little Mermaid or something. It's like really hyper specific stuff.
Okay.
So,
yeah. Now you're targeting.
Yeah. Now I'm like targeting. I want that.
Mulan was nice, but what I really need is Jurassic Park, the outside days. Yeah, that's what we need here. Let's see, Tatiana, she presented with us a little while ago. She was wondering, what keeps you motivated? What's your motivation? How do you stay motivated in this crazy time? Or even before this crazy time? Or what motivated you before the crazy time, and now what motivates you now?
I think for me, it's like learning different things every day, or seeing people's work every day. I work with my boyfriend in a lot of projects, and he's also a motion graphics designer. So he motivates me to learn other programs, techniques, color correction, all of these other things. So yes.
So the learning every day, that's your motivation. It's like, I'm going to learn something new today.
Yes.
jump into Python and learn scripting because that's fun.
Yeah, super fun. Except that.
Except that. And of course, seeing everybody, like, you create a nice feed on Instagram or Pinterest, and it's like, okay, I'm inspired. I find that as a double-edged sword personally as an artist, because I'm like, ooh, this is inspiring, and I have no time, and I'm not going to do this. And now I'm like, oh, but I'm so inspired. So I find this little angst, this little back and forth angst that drives me crazy. But inspired, but then also slightly depressed. I don't know what to call that. Angst, I guess. It's just angst. Steph, what about you? What keeps you motivated?
Definitely Instagram and Pinterest, and also how so many artists now are kind of like showing their like behind the scenes or like their process and you know, seeing how it could be done. And I'm like, oh, okay, I should try this, or how everyone is so cool in our industry and willing to share knowledge and putting up tutorials or breaking down and stuff like that. That to me, I'm always like trying to learn. I mean, I always do get stuck between like frame by frame, like learn more texturing, learn more modeling, But the fact that everyone's just so open about it and so sharing with their knowledge is awesome and inspiring. And then on top of that, their actual artwork is great too.
Oh, yeah. And then there's that. And then it's actually good work. Then they also do good work. Mariah, what about you? What keeps you motivated?
I love working, and I love doing what I do, and I love solving problems. You know, I really love having a project where, you know, they need to deliver a certain message and they don't know how to do it, and I can come in and do it and create something out of nothing, like literally like a blank screen, and then being able to, you know, create something. I love it.
Yeah, that's a big one personally for me too, is problem solving and someone else feeling stuck, and you're just like, no, you're not stuck. You got me. We're fine. This is going to be good. I mean, you're doing drone footage for your elementary school, so that's you know, they'll be okay. Like, we got a problem. Like, yeah, call mom. She'll make it fine. She can do this. Kaya, what about you? What keeps you motivated?
I mean, the same thing that Mariah said. She kind of summed it up perfectly. Like, when you have a new project come in and you've just got that blank frame, it's something so exciting about it. Just being able to just dive in, do like the reference pull, figure out like, how am I going to pull this off creatively and technically? There's something it's so fun.
Yeah, the technical challenge, like, and then, and I just linked this and it all came together.
Yeah, it's like you pull out, you see like a beautiful picture, you like come up with this great idea, and you're like, I have no clue how I'm gonna make this. This is impossible. So then you gotta like cobble it together. Yeah, it's all dark magic. Yeah.
All when in doubt, dark magic.
Or plugins. Or just plugins.
Yeah.
I got 1,000 plugins. I'm just in Red Giant, Redshift, Unreal, Maxon. Yeah, just plug it all in, and then it works. Just keep buying plugins, and then you have a picture.
No, but how many times is somebody's like, oh, it's easy, right? You got to plug in, and I'm like, what? No.
Yeah.
There's no plug-in for that.
Yeah. Oh, I see it all the time. It's good, but that's the beautiful thing is, and it actually takes us to our next question is, do you find yourself learning more on your own time or on the job? So on your own, are you on the job? Kaya, on the job. Yeah. Anybody else?
You have that pressure. Like if you fuck up on the job, if you don't learn something on the job, you're screwed. Versus on your own, you know, you can't figure something out, you can, you know, get up and you know, go out to a movie or something. Like you're not really.
Wait, you can go out to the movies? How? How do you do this? Oh yeah, I forget. No, I've seen your reel. I know what you do. You still go out to the movies. That's nice. Yeah. Wow. Okay. So on the job, that deadline creates that sense of urgency.
The deadline gives like that absolute fear. It's like you have to figure this out now.
Learn, die. It's like you learn or your rent doesn't get paid. Think about it. What are you gonna do?
I find an awesome way to learn things too is dig into somebody else's After Effects project. Oh, yeah. I love that. I love to figure out like, doing that. Who is this person? Like, what is and
project diving?
I love it.
Project excavation. You start just diving in, tinkering, taking things apart.
Only if they're organized. If they're unorganized, you're like, oh.
Yeah,
Then
don't go to
now
my
you can
project.
judge them on their
Yeah.
After Effects project. Their After Effects project.
This is how you'll be judged. Open up your latest project. Let's see. Yeah.
Oh shit.
Did you use layers? Did you name layers? Why is this cube 14? All right. Let's see. Learning more. Somebody was wondering. All right. Somebody's tardy. Emily, you're late. It's okay. We'll let you pass. Do you keep up with social media and being engaged, or do you ignore it entirely? What's your social media presence for each of you? How active are you on each of the platforms?
I'm trying to be much more active, but definitely that's something I'm always pushing to kind of, because you see, I mean, I follow so many artists, and then when I see how easy it is to like connect with them or reach out to them, or how they get discovered, I'm always trying to push myself, but I'm taking baby steps for right now.
I try to post something. For a while, I was like, okay, let's post something once a day, and it was so difficult.
Doing dailies,
difficult.
got on the
Yes,
daily bandwagon.
it was so difficult. But yeah, it's good because you get to practice a lot. If you post something once a day, you get to do this little thing that maybe you didn't know about, or you just recently downloaded a plugin or whatever. So yeah, it's a challenge, but it's a good way to keep up with what's happening.
Kaya, Mariah, what about you two?
I'm going to take their cues. I'm going to be inspired by these ladies over here and maybe start, but
Maybe start doing something.
Yeah.
Well, you're too busy solving problems and flying drones, and all you got to do is post that, and there you go.
True.
Kaya, what about you?
Definitely. It's been a goal for 2020. I have zero excuse because I've been home, this entire time. But I definitely need to up my social media game. I'm absolutely terrible at it. But I've always admired people like that have, their entire portfolios on their Instagram page or do the dailies every day. That stuff is super inspiring and cool. So I commend everyone who keeps up with it.
An easy thing for each of you is just take each different shot and do a post from it. You'll have enough content for a while. Just each of the cuts, just like post that, and you'll be good for at least a little bit. It'll look legit.
But we can't post the things we're working on, like
no, not now. Just the past stuff. Okay. Just go shot by shot and just take one and just repost it. It'll be great.
Or just move the camera around a little bit, and then
just change really milk out those 3D scenes.
There you go. Just change the LUT. Just one shot. 7 LUTs a week. That's it.
There you go. You're a style frame artist.
Yeah.
Change it up.
James Ramirez just joined us. James, you're late. We already said your name. Sorry, brother. We said some good things about you. Now you have to go back and watch the replay. That's how it works. So more questions from the internet. If you guys have questions, type them in. I want to ask this question, though. If there was something that you would wish you have known sooner in this, be it that plugin that you need or want, that plugin, or that technique, what would you have been that would have helped you just either in a project or just in your career? What do you wish you would have known sooner?
I think as a freelancer and as a woman, we don't talk enough about our rates and what we make. And I have a friend who's a CPA, and she's like, you guys need to start talking about money and empower each other. And so I think just being more savvy when it comes to what we're making.
The money conversation.
Mm-hmm. And just being more comfortable talking about money.
Yeah, it's a part of life. I guess it's fine.
But like freelance-wise, or
right. No, that's super important because so many, young kids who come into this industry, they have no clue what to charge, and then they get lowballed.
Definitely.
They get lowballed all the time, and then it trickles up to, trickles to everybody. So it's really good to have this conversation.
A little bit of wage transparency and rate transparency, so people can understand what it's like for an intermediate or an advanced designer or somebody starting off that's livable and not like under a couch livable in a closet in LA, but like actually livable.
Yeah.
anything else you wish you would have known, be it technique or in the industry? Merielen or Steph, what do you got?
Well, I wish I would have known earlier that animation didn't mean Pixar or broadcast graphics a little bit earlier.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good one.
So before, just in your head, animation was, that's it, not everything in between. You wish you would have known the spectrum that was available.
Yeah, or seen like the other day, well, not the other day, but like when Facebook came out with their anniversaries, and when I would try to explain to people like what I do, I was like, oh, okay, you know, like those animations, like people made those, and that's like a whole career thing, and it doesn't have to look like Pixar, and it's not a news station, but you know, just knowing those possibilities earlier on, and yeah, I wish I would have known that earlier, but I still figured it out.
Very cool. Merielen, what do you got?
So many plugins. So many of them. But I think the latest one that I discovered was there's it's called Linked between Substance Painter and Octane. So basically, you just paint your textures on Substance, and it automatically links them to your composition, and you can see them live on Octane. So that was
what? Wait, repeat that. That sounds super useful.
Yes,
it's called
Linked. I forgot the name of the person that created it. But yes, it basically creates a link. So when you don't have to import your texture, it automatically links it from Substance Designer to Cinema 4D or whichever platform you're working for.
And, that is awesome.
Yeah, so you can see it live in your rendered, like Octane or whatever you use.
That's super
cool. Does it work with Redshift too, or does it link to that?
Yes.
Oh, nice. Okay. Very cool. So we got wage Go ahead.
Sorry. Well, one thing I discovered recently, I know this has probably been around for a while, but like with Quixel and Megascans, they're bridge apps. When you import textures in, it automatically converts it to whatever renderer you use. And before, I was just sitting there linking and making textures all day. So the fact that it converts and sets it up automatically is just life-saving.
Oh, it's mind-blowing, the stuff that they're doing over there. It's crazy. Really somebody wants to know, what are the creative ways to tell your parents what motion graphics is? Dear mom, dear dad, I'm a motion graphic designer. Oh no, what does that mean?
No, they will never understand what motion graphics.
Do a motion graphics piece explaining motion graphics to them. That's how you see all this. Or medical animation, because they understand commercials. Like that's how I would say it. Like, you see that commercial for pills or shampoo? That's what
I actually always do that every time I see like something that's like animated commercial that's like more my type. I mean, it's not simple animation, more like nice animation. I'm like, mom, look, you're gonna miss it. Hold on, it's right there.
Show them commercials. I'm like, what are you talking about? Yeah, so that's one. Tatiana was wondering if there's a trend that you like the most and you don't want to go away. You're like, I love this trend, stay here forever. You can also say, if there's one that you hate too. I'll accept both answers. Or has there been a trend?
No.
Go ahead, Steph.
I was into gradients a lot.
Gradients.
For a while. Yes, I was like, at first I was like, I don't know. And then I just put gradients on everything to fake light or whatever.
I feel like for a long time there was the big, metallic type trend, and then we went into a neon trend, and now things are a little more cinematic and smaller. I don't know. I like doing them all, so.
All of the above.
Yeah.
I was gonna say the combination people are doing of 2D and 3D, but like the example that comes to the top of my head right now was kind of the blend titles. Okay. How it had like the little 2D elements, but then like in this 3D world, but they weren't like too contrasty, like they weren't totally different from each other, but they still fit in the same world. I thought that was super cool.
Very cool. Kaya, what about you?
For me, like I'm going to talk about like title sequences. I feel like lately, especially like the stuff that I've been working on has just been just super CG and photoreal looking. I'd really like to see more illustrative looks come in and maybe even a blend of the two. But I feel like just having like the CG photoreal stuff constantly, like really slow, really cinematic, I think it's getting a little bit old. So it'd be nice to kind of bring something fresh into the mix.
Yeah, real life is totally overrated. We need,
Totally.
we need to spice things up a little bit. Spice it up. So we do have a couple more questions, a couple more minutes for some questions. So if you guys have them and you're tuning in and you have a couple more questions, I'll definitely try and get to those. If not, we'll start wrapping it up. And I want to ask this question: is what change would you like to see in the industry that you think would be helpful for women and other ethnicities? So a change in the industry. We already talked about early access. That was one of the things, but that was more outside the industry. But is there anything within the industry itself that you would like to see change that you think would be of great benefit to women or other ethnicities?
More tutorials done by women.
Okay. And you're volunteering too, because you are part of that class. You are part of that.
Yeah.
You are part of that group. So that's really encouraging. And I mean, I've been working with, getting like the first woman presenter. When I got to Maxim, I got the first woman presenter on stage, and then finally got to 50% women presenters just last year in the outside days. So just last year, we got the 50% at SIGGRAPH, and that was something that we were looking to keep rolling, and we've been able to get more and more. But it was literally because every year, a couple women would have saw the women from the year before that actually did that presentation that would help the next one say, yes, I'll go on stage. So I cannot emphasize that enough. So yeah, definitely women, if you're out there, connect with Mograph, connect with all the different places that you can. If you're looking to start doing tutorials, there's plenty of resources. But yeah, we need your voice. It is so valuable to the industry and the next generation, so everybody can feel really welcome. So definitely, and all colors, creeds, and cultures too. There's a story to be told in every culture, and there's different techniques that I see that come out of France that are different from Brazil. There's all these different unique aspects to be able to tell your story. So I cannot encourage you enough to say, please tell your story and share it. It's so important.
Also, I was going to say, if you're in school, don't be afraid of reaching out to people that you think are good, because it's really helpful. I read a statistic today I think it's 60% of women that are in art school for animation, only like 20% of them end up getting creative jobs. So it's like, reach out, don't be afraid, and yeah.
Excellent. Yeah, and I can't emphasize that enough. So that's a great point, Merielen. One of the things, there's two things that I recommend everybody get in any industry that they're in, and that is a mentor and a sponsor. Right, so they're two distinct different things. A mentor is someone who can share tools and techniques with you to enhance your skill in your craft. So if you're looking to, be an architect, you're going to find somebody who's good at architecture. That's great. In our industry, there's a lot of people out there. There's the Andrew Kramers of the world. There's tutorials after tutorials of everybody who's sharing those different skills, and they'll help you along the way. And there's classes that you can take. But the other one is a sponsor. And what a sponsor is somebody who has influence in the industry that can help you advance your career. So it's not just somebody who might be able to teach you a skill, but it's someone who will be able to help you advance as a professional, who might be able to say a good word for you at a studio that you want to work in. So if you don't have that, you want to make sure that you're, finding those producers, not just the artists, but the producers that say, oh, you're that person who does volumetrics really great. We're going to want you on a project, so you can know that. So look for having at least two of each of those mentors that you can reach out to, and sponsors. That's something I can strongly recommend.
Yeah, I agree with what Merielen said, is reach out. And I know, like, Winbush told his story about how he just was sending out his DVD reel just to everyone, trying to catch a bite. And and now with social media, it's a lot easier. You don't have to send out that reel, but you can reach out to people in the industry. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And it's one thing, it can be a little bit intimidating at first, but luckily in our industry, the majority of people are actually cool and not that rude, you know. So I know it's intimidating, but I mean, when we all talked, you guys didn't think I was too rude, right? I was all right, like in our conversation. It wasn't like too rude, but this is borderline. Oh, God. But that's one of the things is most people are good, and we have a reputation. Like everybody here has a reputation, and it's very different than back in the, I guess, the olden days, not even the outside days, the olden days where people could kind of be jerks and it wasn't so evident. Nowadays, like the word gets around pretty quick. So you want to still be good to people and you want to be respectful. But if you're talking to someone and somebody's even mean to somebody who's a noob and just starting off, it's like that's not going to look good for them in the long haul. So more often than not, it's good to just be good. I have to say, I've only had a couple people reach out to me throughout my years at Maxon and have really utilized me in my position to help them get to where they want to go. But the few that have pretty much gone to every studio that they wanted to go to and worked at every place that they wanted to go to. And that was starting off in school, from the internships that they wanted to have. Granted, they were very, very good, but they were actively reaching out and connecting. And because of my role, I'm a hub, I could make a phone call and their work was good enough to actually get them to where they're landing. So be active. It's one of the things. You might feel shy, you might feel like you're not good enough, but you have to just build that connection and you'll get guidance along the way on your portfolio and everything else. So that's what mentors and sponsors do. And everybody here, I think, is happy enough to share because they're already doing it here. So don't be too afraid. I think we have one more question. And I think we can close it up after that. Thank you guys so much for your time. It looks like a good one. As a woman, how would you recommend going about getting a mentor? It's difficult to find other women who have been in Mograph for a while and be able to put in the time. So is there a good resource that you would recommend for a woman to be able to connect with other women in particular?
I think Women in Animation has a program now. I think it's called 50-50, which means 50% of women and 50% of men by the year 2015. So that's a great resource to find mentors and information in general about the industry.
Very cool. All right. Anyone else have any questions for the panel? Last chance. I'm going to be going here. Thank you, ladies, so much for taking your time. I know you're all busy on crazy production schedules. It's good to see you. I wish we were hanging out anyway and sharing, a drink of water or soda or beverage of choice and being able to talk shop or at an event. Is there anything that you would want to share to anybody who's listening and tuning in? Is there any last messages anybody would like to share out there?
I would just like to say how awesome I think our community is. And I know, we there's certain goals we want to work towards, but I love the motion community and I love how everyone is willing to collaborate and stuff like that. And like you were saying before, just reach out to people. And now with Instagram and how easy it is to talk to people, you kind of like put them on this pedestal because you're like their biggest fan, but then you just reach out and it's like a regular person who's willing to tell you, oh, this is how I worked on this project. So.
Yeah, we're secret celebrity nerds. That's how I see it. It's like to the rest of the world, nobody cares, but to other artists, we're like, oh my goodness, I can't talk to that person. To anybody else, you're like, who is that? They're like, you don't know? They have 14,000 followers. And everybody's like, what? No. Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time. I would love to have you guys back at future shows, be it here on the Mograph podcast. I'm sure the rest of the team would be reaching out to you guys for one-on-one. But I would love to have you on also at the 3D Motion show in the future at any time because, showing off your work and showcasing it when you have time. I'm not going to harass you too much, but when you have time, because it is such an inspiration. So thank you all for taking the time tonight, and we'll see you on the next one. So thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Ciao.
Thank you.
All right. Great show, ladies. I think, I don't know, Dave, is that great?